Did you know a murderer's iron-clad alibi was completely destroyed by the victim's own heart? In 2015, a husband told police a terrifying story of a masked intruder. He had the bruises to prove it. He had the timeline to back it up. But he forgot one thing. His wife was wearing a witness on her wrist, and it was about to testify against him. Ellington, Connecticut, 2 days before Christmas. The kind of town where doors are left unlocked and neighbors know each other's car schedules. Connie and Richard Dabate lived in a sprawling colonial on a wooded lot. Connie was a pharmaceutical rep, beloved, organized, the rock of her family. Richard was a network administrator. On the surface, they were the portrait of suburban success. But at 10:11 a.m., that portrait was slashed open. Richard makes a frantic call to 911. When first responders arrived, they found a scene of absolute chaos. Richard was zip-tied to a folding chair in the kitchen. He was bleeding. And in the basement, Connie Dabate lay dead, shot twice with her husband's own .357 Magnum. Richard was the sole survivor, the victim of a home invasion. But as the EMTs cut the zip ties from his wrists, the detectives noticed something that didn't sit right. The door wasn't broken. Richard's story was detailed, almost too detailed. He told investigators he had left for work but turned around because he forgot his laptop. When he came back inside at 9 a.m., he heard a noise. He described a tall man dressed in camo with a voice that sounded like, in Richard's words, Vin Diesel, a masked intruder who demanded his wallet and PIN numbers. According to Richard, Connie came home early from the gym. The intruder surprised her. Richard tried to intervene, was subdued, zip-tied, and stabbed. Then the intruder took Connie to the basement and shot her. But the physical evidence was whispering a different story. Richard's injuries were superficial, small cuts, not the work of a brutal killer who just executed a woman. And the K9 unit, they tracked a scent from the house that went nowhere. The dog lost the trail immediately, as if the intruder had vanished into thin air. Witnesses began to talk. Neighbors hadn't seen a camo-clad giant fleeing the scene. They hadn't heard a getaway car. The snow outside the house was undisturbed, except for the police and the family. Then they looked at Richard's behavior in the months leading up to Christmas. He wasn't acting like a happy husband. He was withdrawing money. He was distant. The intruder theory relied on a random act of violence. But nothing about this crime scene felt random. It felt staged. Richard claimed the intruder was there from 9 a.m. until the shooting around 10 a.m. An hour of terror. But investigators were about to ask the house what happened. In modern crime, silence is impossible. We leave digital footprints everywhere we go. The state police brought in their digital forensics team. They didn't just look for fingerprints, they looked for data packets. First, the house alarm. Richard said he came home, fought the intruder, and was tied up by roughly 9:15 a.m. But the alarm logs showed the system was armed and disarmed multiple times that morning from inside the house. Then Richard's phone. At 9:04 a.m., when he was supposedly being held at gunpoint, he sent an email to his boss saying he'd be late, a strange priority for a man fighting for his life. And then the motive cracked open. Investigators dug into Richard's financials and texts. They found Sarah Ganser. Richard wasn't just having an affair, he had a double life. Sarah was pregnant. She was due in passing weeks. Richard was trapped. He had a wife he couldn't afford to divorce and a mistress expecting a baby he couldn't explain. He had told Sarah he was getting a divorce. He told Connie nothing. The walls were closing in. But motive isn't proof. Richard stuck to his story. The intruder did it. The timing was the only thing that could save him or damn him. He swore Connie was dead by 9:05 a.m. Detectives noticed an item listed in Connie's personal effects, a Fitbit Flex, a simple pedometer used to track steps and exercise. they obtained a warrant for the data. They weren't expecting much. Maybe it would confirm she stopped moving when Richard said she died. But when the analyst pulled the logs, he saw something that made the hair on his arms stand up. 9:05 a.m., the time of death, according to Richard. The house should be silent. Connie should be gone. But the Fitbit disagreed. At 9:18 a.m., Connie was walking. At 9:30 a.m., she was walking. At 9:45 a.m., she was still moving around the house. The device recorded 1,217 steps between the time Richard said she was killed and 10:05 a.m. That is a distance of over 1,000 feet. Connie wasn't dead. She was walking around, doing laundry, checking Facebook posts, which her phone logs confirmed. The timeline was impossible. If the intruder was there, why was Connie casually walking 1,200 steps for an hour? The only person who could have generated that movement was a living Connie Dabate. The intruder didn't exist. The police theory crystallized. Richard waited for Connie to return. He staged the break-in. He chased her to the basement. The 10:05 a.m. timestamp on the Fitbit wasn't just a number. It was the exact moment her heart stopped. It took time, over a year of analysis, but in April 2017, Richard Dabate was arrested. The warrant didn't just list a gun or a witness, it listed a database. The trial, delayed by the pandemic, finally began in 2022. The defense tried to argue that Fitbits aren't precision scientific instruments. They claimed steps could be arm movements during a struggle. But the prosecution layered the evidence. The Fitbit data matched the Facebook posts. It matched the lack of forced entry. It matched the pregnant girlfriend. It was a mosaic of guilt. It took the jury only a few hours. Guilty on all charges: murder, tampering with evidence, lying to police. Richard Dabate was sentenced to 65 years in prison. He maintains his innocence to this day, sticking to the story of the Vin Diesel-raced intruder. But the judge and the jury listened to the silent witness. Connie's voice was silenced that morning in the basement, but in a way, she kept speaking for an hour after her husband said she was dead. We live in an age of constant surveillance. We worry about government satellites and street cameras. But in the case of Connie Dabate, justice didn't come from the sky. It came from her own wrist. It's a chilling reminder. You can wash away blood. You can burn clothes. You can concoct the perfect story. But you can't kill the data.